Hello everybody and welcome to Uproot Reddit. Who here remembers the tin lunchboxes that had your favorite characters from those 90s/early 2000s shows? Because when we were in grade school, everyone had to rock out the cafeteria with the coolest lunchbox that no one else had. Now, we looked cool with the latest in-style lunchbox, but let's not forget what was in it. A soggy sandwich, some slightly crushed potato chips, a cooling ice pad to keep the food fresh, a fruit cup, maybe some yogurt or jello, a plastic spoon, the whole 9 yards. Instead of some school lunches that we didn't want, we'd always bring our lunchbox, as long as said lunchbox has something in it. I mean, what would be the point of bringing an empty lunchbox? Reddit user Amy47101 could see that one kid brought such a lunchbox because someone forgot to fill it with food. An entitled mother, so to speak. Or better yet, she would send the girl without lunch and expect the teachers to take care of her. But what happens when that so-called privilege is taken away? Here's what happened. In today's post, entitled mother became enraged because our food program was canceled. That food program was the charity of a teacher who passed away. For context, this woman has been a problem parent at the center for as long as her 5-year-old child, Molly, has been here. The girl started as an infant in our baby room, so that's 5 years of this woman. This entitled mom is not a good person. She would not pack lunches for her daughter. She would often send her then 13-year-old to bring Molly into the daycare because she didn't want to. And at least 3 times a week, teachers had to give the child a bath in the sink. And when she was too big for that, a sponge bath because she smelled so bad. Yes, we called CPS, and I'm not sure what came of that, but I know Molly is still in her custody. It was awful. But there was one saving grace this girl could look to: Jenny. Jenny was the sweetest woman you would ever meet. She worked in one of the preschool classrooms, but her heart was so big and open that she extended her kindness to all children. Every time Molly came in without a lunch, Jenny would make sure she had food, even if it meant driving to the local Walmart or country fair to get her a sandwich. Eventually, Jenny began to bring in food personally for Molly, because Molly's entitled mom never packed her lunch. Jenny died suddenly and unexpectedly in 2019. She was young, just barely over 30. Entitled mom kept bringing Molly in without lunches, and up until COVID hit, it was an ongoing battle that finally came to a head yesterday. Molly came in at 10:30 yesterday, which was too late for breakfast. In the preschool classrooms, we keep them on a schedule, and breakfast ends at 8:30, while they get snacks at 10 o'clock. Molly had a snack, and lunch started at noon. When the teacher opened her lunchbox to prep her food at lunch, she noticed there was breakfast in there. She decided politely to remind Molly's mother that breakfast ends at 8:30, and if she was planning to bring her in later, to please have her eat before she comes in, because things are already in full swing in the classroom. This was done via a childcare app that we use to communicate with parents. Well, entitled mom didn't like that and called the center screaming at our assistant director. This lasted for 10 minutes, and the pregnant AD came into my room, the infant room, angry about all this. She cooled down and went back to her office. The offices are right next to my room, so I was being somewhat nosy and listened in. Entitled mom came to pick Molly up, effectively pulling her from the center. There she got to shouting at the AD. "Wouldn't you be upset if they weren't feeding your baby? Wouldn't you want justice and people held accountable?" That's when the director stepped in and told the AD to check on the other classrooms. Translation: you don't have to listen to this. I'll handle it. Director then followed up with, "Personally, I would make sure that my child ate breakfast before bringing her in." Assistant director left at that point. Entitled mom was throwing a fit about how she didn't like the teachers here, how she thought Tiana, the preschool teacher for the 4/5-year-olds, was a raging woman, and how she didn't like her since the beginning, and how a lot of parents pulled their kids because of her. Thing is, she was confusing Tiana with Tessa, the younger preschool teacher for the 3 to 4-year-olds. Tessa is admittedly a strict woman, but her strictness was countered with kindness and positive reinforcement. Entitled mom is so out of touch with her daughter's providers that she never even got to meet Tiana. Finally, she delivered the zinger everyone knew was coming, but hopes she has had enough class to refrain from saying, "You stopped doing the food program when Jenny died. I think you're just too selfish and cheap to honor her memory in continuing it." To which director finally stood up and said, Jenny was the food program. She bought that food for Molly out of her own pocket with her money that she earned caring for the children here. The reason this so-called food program stopped was because Jenny died. To which entitled mom doubled down and said, "Well, why wouldn't you continue to buy food for the children in her honor?" "Because we do not have the budget to allocate funds for a food program. And in addition, in our handbook, it states we are only to provide snacks. We would need a whole other set of clearances and regulations to start serving food here like a cafeteria. But you did it when Jenny was here." The argument continued back and forth like that until finally, director basically said that this was the second outburst that entitled mom had, and that they could no longer accept Molly at the center with this continued behavior. Entitled mom, needing to get the last word in, finished with, "Fine, I don't want to send my child to a place that starves her." Then she left with Molly. My heart breaks for the child, but there's not much else to do. I just can't believe how classless you have to be in one argument to bring up a beloved, saintly person like Jenny and then basically insinuate that our wonderful assistant director was going to be a bad mother, while acting like we are still somehow the buttholes for canceling our non-existent food program. And here are some updates from Amy 47101. Quote, "I wanted to say a few things because apparently I wasn't clear enough. First, Molly had both breakfast and lunch in her lunchbox. Tiana assumed she ate breakfast at home since she came in at 10 o'clock, so didn't know there was breakfast in her lunchbox. Molly had and ate lunch that day. Breakfast was sent home. Second, CPS was called when Molly was an infant and when she was 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly as I did not make the call. Both times, nothing came out of it. However, Molly was clean coming in and her mother is, begrudgingly, packing her lunches. Third, a lot are wanting me to contact CPS a third time. I personally do not have the information available to make a proper report. Full name, address, legal guardian, updated phone number, things like that. I can, however, talk to Tiana, whom was her teacher. I know Tiana was considering calling CPS again, but she didn't disclose the reason to me. Tiana has a lot more info and insight on this situation than me. I teach in an entirely separate classroom and only got this story because it was so public. And of course, considering she was yelling at the pregnant assistant director, who wouldn't want to know why? I will update this again if I get confirmation on what Tiana plans to do. Also, the assistant director ended up calling the police because entitled mom was blowing up our messaging app for our daycare, calling Tiana all sorts of horrible names and talking crazy. Some threats were made towards the assistant director, so Tiana told her and the assistant director is considering filing a restraining order if things continue to escalate. She threatened to dox the center. Our center's contact info is online, so I don't know if it's a dox, but that's what she basically threatened to do. CPS was contacted, and this woman has a record, and I'm pretty sure half the threats she made could get her in a lot of trouble. A metric ducting happened this weekend. I cannot even. This might be the last edit. I'm not comfortable sharing much more because this is escalating way too quickly, and I want to make sure things are in control before I update again. So tell me, entitled mom, what's the point of criticizing an entire center just because you don't feel like sending your daughter some food? Yeah, talk about terrible parenting. If you're going to get mad at the fact that your daughter is willing to help other people in need and see how ridiculous you look and behave. Like what happened with Reddit user Pipoca Queimada. They forgot to pack their essentials and asked a friend for help. Apparently, the friend's entitled mom didn't like that idea so much and began yelling at the friend for even helping out. In today's post, entitled mom gets mad that I'm on my period. Now, this happened before COVID, but here are the cast of characters. Quote, MF equals my friend, EM is entitled mom, and me is me, myself, and I. So I decided to stay over at my friend's house for the weekend. I had forgotten to put extra tampons in my bag. I arrived and for the most part, everything was all right. I already knew entitled mom was entitled sometimes because my friend told me, but I never really saw it. We were just talking and watching Netflix and the urge to go to the bathroom hit me. I then realized that, yup, that was my period. I asked my friend if I could use one of her tampons because I forgot to bring some. My friend gave me one and I thought everything was okay. A few minutes go by and my friend and me are in the living room when entitled mom comes running from my friend's bedroom. Apparently, she was going through a daily inspection of my friend's bedroom and noticed my friend was down one tampon. My friend already told me about her mother, basically a control freak, and if anything was out of the ordinary, my friend would get punished. So she comes into the living room. Why is one of your tampons missing? Pipoca Queimada borrowed one. Me, uncomfortable. Well, you know that you are not supposed to give away tampons. There's no big deal, it's just one. If she was planning on menstruating, then she should have brought her own. Me, who is super uncomfortable. Well, I forgot to keep track, and I just borrowed one. Mom, it's just one thing. It doesn't affect your life in any way whatsoever. But this is coming out of your pocket. I don't buy you tampons so you can just give them away. Why are you always like this? It's just one thing. Entitled mom, looking at me. We'll talk after your friend leaves. Then she leaves the room. After entitled mom left, the air was super awkward. But me and my friend were able to joke it out. After I left, my friend told me that entitled mom demanded that my friend give her £1 for the tampon. And it's safe to assume that I never went back to her house. Well, I guess it's a little known fact that entitled moms are good at embarrassing both themselves and the people around them. They aren't just mad at everyone, they're just plain mad crazy. And there are way more entitled mom stories out there. But that's all the time we have for today. We'll be back for more embarrassing moms posts right here on Uproot Reddit. And we'll see you all next time.